I did a video about the 6 reasons I keep a 12-month emergency fund. And in that video, I talked a lot about why I keep a large amount in savings, but I didn't talk about where I keep it. So I thought in this video, I would talk to you guys about where to save your money. If you are new here, my name is Celeste, and on this channel, I talk a lot about freedom and about how money is a tool that we can use to get that freedom. And my personal story, late start, didn't really get financially tuned in until my 40s. But once I realized how money could be used to help create freedom, I locked in. And now I've built systems for myself that allow me to not have to work year round in order to cover my bills. So that's me. I want to talk to you guys about why savings is so important. So savings is the foundation that allows for the other wealth building activities to happen. It provides you peace of mind so that you can focus on your job or building a business. And it gives you the confidence to invest in the stock market so that your money can grow. Speaking of that last point, this video is going to be about savings, but I would never recommend holding a large amount in cash and not also investing. So I want to make it clear that savings and investing are not mutually exclusive. It's not either or. You can do both at the same time, and you should be doing both at the same time. So if you are with me so far, please click the like button, and that will help more people who need to hear this message find this video. Before I get into my first point, I just want to do a little PSA and say that in this current economic climate and in this current political climate, savings are more important than ever, because you may need to have the means to withstand life events, job loss, things like that. And you may need the means to be able to react quickly to things that take place. So I just wanted to put that out there. Sometimes financial advice can be a little slow to sort of catch up to what's going on in the current environment. And so, if you are listening to like the traditional advice about how much to save and what kind of situations you might need savings for, I would just say amp that up a little bit. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna leave it at that. Do you keep your savings at your local bank? I want you to let me know in the comments, and I want you to see if your thought process stays the same about that by the time we get to the end of this video. The first place to keep your money is your local bank. You need a place that you can physically go to get money out of the ATM or go inside and get money from a teller. The main benefit of your local bank is speed and convenience of being able to quickly and easily get to your money. If something unexpected pops up in your life, like, a flat tire or some kind of medical emergency, or you got to call the plumber, or you need cash to pay the landscaper, or all that kind of stuff, right? This is a place you can easily go and get that money to cover those types of expenses. What the local bank is not for is for you to keep your long-term savings. The local bank account is really for the kind of stuff I just described, right? Ordinary bumps in the road, small bumps in the road, where, a couple $100, $500 can help get you by, maybe until the next paycheck. So it's not for life's bigger emergencies, right? There is a different place where I would recommend you keep money for that. And we'll talk about that in a second. I think I've talked about the fact that I used to be an overspender, not even an overspender, probably an overspender too, but I used to be a careless spender. And what I used to do is just use my local bank to hold whatever money was left over after I paid my bills. And then that money often got spent because I didn't follow the advice of give every dollar a job. So I would just leave money sitting in there. And if it was there and it was tied to a debit card that I could just go swipey swipe, it got spent. And to this day, I kind of regret like a lot of money slipped through my fingers that could have been in the market, could have been, God knows where. So when I finally got intentional about my finances, what I had to do is like purposely keep a small amount at my local bank so that I wouldn't be tempted to overspend. So I would keep like $200 at the local bank, and then everything else I would like transfer out to other places so that I couldn't spend it, because that was what I had to do to like build this habit. So now I practice what's called zero-based budgeting, which is kind of like what I said before, where every dollar has a job. So there really would be no such thing as leftover money, right? Because you're going to assign every dollar to something. So that's what I practice now. The only money that I really keep at the local bank now is the money to pay like the bills for the current month and a sinking fund, which I can talk about in a future video if anyone's interested in that. And my sinking fund is still around $200. But yeah, that's what I keep there. Now, I probably actually need to do a little better job of keeping some more money at the bank because of my own PSA, right? Given the climate and the need to have cash within reach. So yeah, that's something I've even got to work on myself. But if I hold more money at my local bank, it's there for a reason. It has a job. It's just to be like emergency cash within reach and not to be spent. So I think that's the important takeaway. You can decide for yourself what the right amount is to keep at your local bank. Hopefully, like just hearing my story and some of the pitfalls that I went through will kind of help you figure out what that amount is for you. If you're tempted to overspend, one thing that works for some people is to do like the envelope system. And I think you guys know what that is. You just like have a bunch of envelopes, you put cash in there, you write on the front what it's for. And actually that's like a old school way of giving every dollar a job. Like that's literally what that is. If you need to do that to get that money out of the bank and into like a designated pot so that you don't spend it, that might be one thing that helps you. Okay, moving on. So your main emergency fund or nest egg or savings or whatever. Your emergency fund is traditionally like 3 to 6 months of expenses that you save in case of job loss. I've said in other videos, I think 3 months is too low given how long it's taking people to find jobs and given this climate. 6 months would be the minimum that I would aim for. And as I said in my PSA, I might add a little buffer to that just because of what's going on. So we're probably talking about like, depending on your cost of living and what 6 months is to you, it's probably at least $10,000. And so we don't want to leave that kind of money sitting around at the local bank earning 0.01%. A better option is what is called a high yield savings account or HYSA. These are usually online only banks like American Express Personal Savings, Marcus by Goldman Sachs, Ally, institutions like that. And they're also FDIC insured, so same as you would get at your local bank. High yield savings accounts pay higher interest rates, so they usually pay like between 3 to 4% versus the 0.02% or whatever you can get at your brick and mortar bank, because they don't have the operating costs of the brick and mortar bank because there is no brick and mortar. The interest rate is tied to the Fed funds rate, the Federal Reserve, like the rate that they set. So I'm filming this video right before they're about to lower, or the speculation is that they're about to lower interest rates. So the interest rates at high yield savings accounts are gonna go down because they're tied to the Fed funds rate, but they're not gonna go down to the 0.03% that your local bank is paying. So that's just important to know that it does vary. It's not like you lock in a rate and that's it. Do y'all remember Orange back in the day? It was ING Bank, and they had this Orange savings account. That was an online bank. So when everybody else was paying point 0.03, 0.02%, they were paying like much higher rates. That was sort of my first foray into, I don't even think I knew it was called a high yield savings account back then, but that was like back in the day. Fast forward to like 2019, I found FIRE movement, Financial Independence Retire Early, that's FIRE. I'm doing all this stuff to like get my system set up, and it's time for me to pick a high yield savings account. A couple of places I did research. I looked at bankrate.com, NerdWallet, places like that. And I looked at obviously like what the reviews said, if they paid a competitive interest rate, and if they had a good app. So those were some of the like factors that I looked at. And in the end, I chose American Express Personal Savings. They weren't the highest interest rate. They were high, it was competitive. There were banks that were higher than them, but then the customer service wasn't as good or whatever. So I just went with American Express, and I've been, let's see, it's been since 2019. Yeah. And I've been really happy with them. So you apply online and then you connect a funding account. So you say like, I want to deposit my first opening deposit of $10 or whatever to open the account. And yeah, so they approve you. And then like a week later, you get a packet in the mail that has your account number and some like literature about the account and benefits and all that kind of stuff. What they don't send you is a debit card, because there's no there's nowhere to use the debit card. There's no brick and mortar like place to go to. So there's some things you need to know about that. Transfers or withdrawals take 2 to 3 days. So if you want to send money over to the account, or more importantly, probably, right, you want to withdraw money from the account, it's going to take 2 to 3 business days for that money to get to you. So you need to manage your money well if you're going to use this type of account. It's not the place to pay your like day-to-day bills out of. It's really meant for you to like transfer the money over there, leave it alone, let it grow. So if you are the kind of person who often finds yourself saying, oh, I need cash right away, then you probably need to build a bigger buffer at your local bank for that, so that you can leave your high yield savings account alone. Does it give you peace of mind, or does it make you nervous to think about the fact that it takes 2 to 3 days for your money to get to you? That is like a little bit harder to reach. Let me know in the comments. One thing I wanted to mention about high yield savings accounts is one of the cool ways that you can use them. I have American Express, and they let you, once you have your main account open, you can open as many additional accounts as you want. There might be a limit. I don't know. I think I have like 6 because what I like to do is assign them different names and different goals. So like one might be the main emergency fund, one is travel. You can name it for like something you're saving up to buy. And it's really easy to open additional accounts after you've opened the main one, and you can manage them all from the app. So Ally, I think, does it a little bit differently, where you have the one main account, but you can like carve it up into buckets and say this part of it is travel, and this part of it is tuition, and this part of it is, whatever. I just wanted to mention that because I think, number one, I think that's a really cool feature, just to be able to have flexibility and make savings like it should mean something to you. When you log in, you want to see your hopes and dreams like growing and flourishing. And so when you log in and you see travel, or you log in and you see birthday cruise, or whatever you name the account, I feel like that is a little bit of inspiration, and it just kind of lets you manage things a little bit better, like the way that you want to, and personalize it. The other reason I wanted to mention that is because I think that savings, I think that money in general should be used for joy and good things and not just survival. So I always hesitate to like use the emergency fund language because it makes people think that the only thing they should be saving for is emergencies. But no, save for good things, you know, save for fun things, save for goals. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that those two banks that I know of have that feature. CDs. So CDs, certificates of deposit, which pay high, actually usually higher interest rates than even high yield savings accounts. The catch is that you usually have to tie your money up to get that higher rate, 1 to 3 years usually for CDs. And the thing about that is I just mentioned that the rates are going to change, you know, probably a couple days from now. If you lock in a rate for like 3 years on a CD, but interest rates go up, you locked in a 3% rate and interest rates went up to 5%, you're like locked into that 3% rate for 3 years. That's not really a good trade-off of liquidity for return. I think high yield savings accounts are like the sweet spot of getting a good return and having liquidity, meaning like you can get to your money. And if you've got cash that you don't need for the next 3 years and you're not close to retirement age, that money should be in the market anyway. You should be investing that money. Savings is kind of maybe a boring topic, but savings really is like the grease or the oil or whatever. I don't know cars. But it is what enables the rest of your financial growth to happen. So we want to earn as much money on our hard-earned savings as possible, and we want to put it somewhere that we know is safe and FDIC insured, and we want to put it somewhere where it can get some kind of growth to at least keep up with inflation. It may not beat inflation, but it'll at least keep up with it. If this was helpful to you, I've got more videos coming on how to make money work for you and use it to help create freedom in your life. So please consider subscribing to my channel. Check the description box for some resources and tips that will help you along in your financial journey. And if you haven't watched it yet, please check out that video I mentioned at the beginning called 6 Reasons Why I Keep an Emergency Fund. It's a perfect companion to this video. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.